Gird your loins and get ready to run, because they're coming. The Choosing Beggars are back, equipped with terrible negotiation tactics. Choosing Beggar vs Tornado, who will win? And what insane request does this Choosing Beggar make of the tornado victims? For our fan-submitted story, a woman asks her old friend to help her create some animations for a special event. One thing leads to another, and the woman keeps begging for more. What happens when you try to be generous to a Choosing Beggar? They take your generosity and more, and literally run away with it. This woman trying to sell a car learns this the hard way. How will our heroes survive? You'll only find out on this episode of VoiceyHere's Choosing Beggars. This story was called, I Don't Care If a Tornado Destroyed an Entire Town, I Want My Freaking Pepsi. First, a bit of history. From 2007 to 2013, I worked for PepsiCo as a customer service rep/sales rep in a call center. My job was to call or receive calls from restaurants and other smaller places of business that carried Pepsi products and take their order if they needed product or handle any customer service issues that they had. I had zero control over billing. Big grocery stores or large chain convenience stores attached to gas stations like 7-Eleven or Sheetz are handled at the local level, easy peasy. Pepsi has a number of distribution centers all over the US, Europe too, and will ship and deliver product sometimes hundreds of miles away. Each center has their assigned section of the state or area they are located in. The following call occurred on Monday, May 23rd, 2011. You're probably wondering how I can remember the exact date. Don't worry, we'll get to that. Unfortunately, I can't recall where CB's business, a small family-owned restaurant, was located. However, the distribution center assigned to CB's town was located in Joplin, Missouri. On Sunday afternoon, May 22nd, 2011, a huge tornado tore through Joplin, Missouri and basically flattened the entire town, including the Pepsi distribution center. And that's no exaggeration. Google it. In the hours prior to receiving the call from CB, the higher-ups have been hard at work trying to figure out the logistics of rerouting trucks from surrounding distribution centers to cover the Joplin zone. We were told to explain to any Joplin customers what was going on and that it was going to take a few days to get service up and running in their area, and to suggest going to large big box stores like Walmart, Sam's or Costco if they ran out of product before we could get delivery out to them. Everyone was completely understanding, and a lot of them even asked if there was anything they could do to help those displaced and or injured during the tornado. Everyone except one guy. And I was the unfortunate soul that received that call. Thank you for calling Pepsi. This is Celtic Sky. Is this Jerk who owns the restaurant, located at 123 Jerkface Lane?
Yes, I need to place my order, and I don't have a lot of time, so don't try and sell me any of your crap.
Okay, sir. However, I do need to inform you that our distribution center was completely destroyed in yesterday's tornado, so we won't be able to deliver on Wednesday as usual. At this time, we are estimating a Friday or Monday delivery.
What the heck do you mean I won't get my delivery on Wednesday? I'm completely out of everything. I need my product now.
I am sorry for the inconvenience, but because the Joplin distribution center was destroyed, we are in the process of rerouting trucks from distribution centers in the surrounding states, and it's going to take some time to get it up and running. If I may, can I suggest going to a place like Sam's or Walmart and getting some 2-liter bottles to hold you over until we can deliver?
This is absolutely freaking ridiculous. I want you to get on the phone with whoever you need to get over in Joplin and get me my product. And now I need it tomorrow.
Sir, the distribution center was completely destroyed. There is no one to call. Most of those employees also lost their homes as well. The trucks were also destroyed. So not only is there no one to call, but there is no way to deliver products to anyone either.
Do you think I care if some loser trucker lost a few shingles off his single wide? I don't. What I do care about is you taking my order and having it here tomorrow. I need 1 Pepsi, 1 Diet Pepsi, and 1 Sierra Mist.
Side note, the Choosing Beggar was attempting to order the 5-gallon boxes of syrup for a fountain machine, and he was ordering the minimum number required for a delivery. I also took a look at his history. We had called this guy every week for 3 months for an order, and were always told that they were fine. Sir, as I've stated, I am happy to place the order, but a delivery tomorrow is completely impossible. I know this is an inconvenience for you, and I apologize for that. We are working as fast as we can to get deliveries in your area back up and running.
This is absolutely bullcrap. You call this customer service? I don't give a crap what you have to do, but you will have my product here tomorrow. Or you can pick up your machine and I'll go back to Coke.
I beg your pardon? At this point, I went from being irritated to fuming. My manager happened to have the cubicle next to mine and heard my half of the conversation. At this point, he came over and plugged into my phone so he could listen in.
Did I stutter? I said I don't give a crap. You will have my product here tomorrow, or I will put your crappy machine out on the curb for the garbage man.
At this point, my manager, let's call him Mike, took over. So this is Celtic Sky's manager, Mike?
Finally, a man that knows how to do business. I've already given your stupid employee my order, and you really should fire her, by the way, because she doesn't understand how to do business. Women are only good for one thing, if you know what I mean. However, I do expect that this order be free because of the hassles she has put me through.
Sir, I regret to inform you that Pepsi is no longer interested in your business. I have gone ahead and scheduled your appointment for pickup and advised that if you do remove it yourself and put it on the curb as threatened, you will be liable for any damages done to the machine, or its total cost if it's picked up by your garbage service.
You can't do this!
Yes, sir, I can, and already have.
I'll sue you for this. You need my business.
Good luck with your lawsuit. This call has been recorded and will be submitted as evidence. Furthermore, we're PepsiCo. Looking at your history, you don't spend more than $1,500 a year for product. I'm pretty sure we'll survive. We wish you luck in the future. Mike then hangs up. One sec, Sky. I need to make a quick call. Because his desk is next to mine, I overhear his call. Bill? Hey, it's Mike over at Pepsi. How's Coke these days? Yeah, so I'm calling just to give you a heads up regarding a contract we just terminated. Mike tells Bill what's happened. Really? No way. Wow. So he did the same thing to you guys, huh? I wonder what he's going to do now. Oh well, serves the jerk right. Have a good one. Mike ensured that the call had indeed been recorded, and then made the calls needed to have CB's equipment picked up. We found out later that CB was so ticked off that he actually took the machine out on his own, and then proceeded to use it for target practice. A few months later, we found out that he really did try to sue Pepsi for breach of contract. Pepsi countersued for the cost of the equipment, and yes, the recording was played in court. He lost and was ordered to pay the full cost of the equipment, which was in the low thousands. It's a rare occasion, but every now and then, instead of rooting for the underdog, you can't help but root for Goliath. I mean, what did the choosing beggar really think was going to happen? It was literally, physically impossible for them to deliver the Pepsi. Because the contract was written by Pepsi, I'm pretty sure they would include special cases for disasters like this. And we learned that really it was the choosing beggar's fault, because he'd been contacted multiple times before this to see if he needed more stock. Another really insightful thing in this story was the call between Pepsi and Coke. Often we see two big rival companies like this, and we imagine them as great big enemies at each other's throats. But as we can see here, it's really a duopoly. Much like the Republicans and the Democrats. They're the two big players in town, and if they help each other out, they actually both survive and give each other a competitive edge against all the rest. Doomsday scenario. Choosing beggars and EPs team up to create the ultimate duopoly. This fan-submitted story was called Sure, I'll Pay You, Next Year. Okay, this happened to me quite recently back in January. For a bit of background, I'm an artist. I have been since middle school. On a regular basis, I get messages from old friends asking me to make art for them for logos, gifts, free stuff, and even for marketing crud. But enter my old college friend. Let's call her Jessie. For the record, I will be changing some details for Jessie, just so she can't say anything if she reads this. I met Jessie in college. She was an interior design major, while I was in illustration. It was art college. We saw each other enough to the point we became fairly good friends, but I wasn't super close to her. She always loved my cartoons and found them very cute. Once in a while, she would give me food or cash in exchange for a quick character doodle, and as a broke college student, I objected to neither. Now, the thing with Jessie was, she always underestimated the amount of work that illustrations took. Not to mention, she always attempted to get me to draw larger art pieces of her for free because she was a part-time model that made her own outfits, and she wanted me to make a series of drawings that were all her different outfits. Yeah, I never did that. Fast forward to January, and it's 1 AM in the freaking morning. She sends me a message on Facebook. I am half dead at this point. I had woken up super early that morning and was just going to bed, so I was barely aware of what we were talking about that morning. Honestly, I should have had red flags for this one.
Hey, how much do you hate animation?
I don't really hate it. If it's a GIF type thing or just a few second animation, things aren't usually too bad. Most of the annoyances come from length of what's being animated. Why do you ask?
Well, I wanted you to do an animation for me and my fiancé James of our life together to show at our wedding that will be next year. It will have all of the moments from my elementary school to now, and I want to keep it simple. Something better than a stick figure animation, but nothing too fancy.
And you want me to help with it or do the animation?
If you're up for it, I'll even pay for your plate at my wedding.
I was half awake and didn't read this fully. Now, let me interrupt for a moment to explain two things. One, animations of any kind are major expensive. Professionals can charge as a start $700 a week. So selling an animation commission normally means big bucks. Hence why I was a bit too eager. Two, I did light research on the cost of the wedding plate offer, and they can be between about $80 to $150, depending on different variables. I had told her to tell me a time when she was free to have a meeting about this animation so we can get an idea as to what she wants for length, subject, type of animation, color, etc. I worked 12 to 8 at the time, so of course instead of setting a time to talk or video chat as she insisted for some reason, she would message me suddenly saying she was on for a meeting now at about 6 or 7. By the time I would log back on, she would tell me she couldn't get into a call because her fiancé was home and this was all a surprise for him. So Jessie would message me randomly, explaining ideas she wanted or send me example animations. So it took 2 to 3 weeks just to finally figure out what she wanted. I was pretty annoyed at this time, but I played things cool. Here's what she wanted. She wanted an animation between 4 to 5 minutes long with music. She wanted to have dozens of events between them from childhood to present day, including a wedding shot. She then wanted an animated version of photographs of them and their cats over different holidays and in different parks and tourist destinations. And she needed this by next year. It had taken nearly a month just to find that out. That's a ton of work for a solo artist to do, who only knows how to do blinking and running animations. Finally, I get her to stay and discuss things for a bit about this because my red flags were smacking me in the face by now. She's now sending me her hand-drawn storyboards that she made because in her words,
so it doesn't cost so much.
Okay, look, before I even try to decipher your storyboards, we have to discuss payment. How much were you planning to spend on this animation? I'll be honest, this is an awful lot of work to do nearly for free. I'm trying to figure out where she stands at this point and if she's willing to negotiate.
Oh no, don't worry. I plan to pay you as a fellow artist. Don't worry.
Okay, but were you paying me with actual money and not just with a meal or at your wedding? You have to give me an idea of your budget.
Well, I was thinking maybe I could give you $150 to $200 for it. I don't want it to have lots of colors or be super detailed, because that will be more expensive. I don't really know the prices for this stuff.
Have you even researched prices for animations at least once?
Of course not. That's why I asked you, because you can give me a discount since we're friends back in college. And it's for a wedding, so doesn't that mean double the discount?
Okay, Jessie, let me explain something to you. A professional animator who does nothing other than animate the stuff gets paid minimum $700 a week, while most 2 to 3 minute animations can cost $800 to $1,000. I really don't think you could afford this considering the amount of work you want done.
But that's so expensive. Can't you do this for a friend? And you can just give me the discount.
No, not unless you're willing to cough up minimum $1,500. And that's the cheap side of things with low quality like you keep insisting on. And friend, you haven't talked to me since we graduated. And for the record, my friends and family discount is an added 25% to your total cost.
Well, that's because I'm busy. Why can't you just make something for $200? I'm even offering you free food at my wedding.
You are aware I don't live in your state anymore, right? I live 6 hours away, so I would have to get a hotel to stay at, and that costs money.
Well, you can stay with me or one of our friends and save money.
What about gas money?
Oh, you can pay for that yourself.
Okay, no. Did I mention no? Look, I am going to send you this link that explains a bunch of things on pricing and animation. I will not do this animation for you, so please don't contact me anymore about it. I haven't heard from her since then. Haven't seen or heard anything about her wedding either yet. Just saying, people, don't underestimate the work that an artist does, and don't bring up friends and family discounts. Some of us add onto the price. Look, I don't know what it's like culturally in America, but in my country, New Jersey, it's very common for the bride and groom to pay for all of the expenses of those at the dinner. So it just seems really weird and rude that she'd be offering this as a special deal to the animator. Look, I get it, it can be tricky to work out and negotiate pricing, but the reality is you get what you pay for. If you're looking for a cheaper product, you're gonna have to go with a student who's probably more willing to accept a cheaper price. But this person has graduated from college and had years of experience, and you even know them and trust them because they've done work for you before. It does seem weird that if you're friends, you're supposed to give them a discount, but it doesn't go the other way around. If you're friends, why can't you pay them more for the work that they've done? I'm not saying that's the way it should be, I just think it's interesting that that's the way we perceive the value. This story was called Choosing Beggar's Stepsister Leaves Me with Her Kids for 3 days instead of 3 hours. Gets mad when I refuse to take care of them. This happened a few years ago during the summer when I was working part-time at my parents' house. My stepsister, the choosing beggar, had asked me if I could watch her kids for a few hours at her apartment. I jumped at the opportunity to be out of my parents' house and just relax, especially since she said the kids, aged 2 and 3, would already be asleep for the night. Note that I did this without pay because I knew she couldn't afford to pay me. I get there around 9 PM. She waves goodbye and says she'll be back in a few hours. The 3 hours are fine. I'm just chilling in the living room, watching movies and messing around on my phone. My nephews stay asleep. Around 1 AM, I text her, asking her what her ETA is. She texts me within minutes, saying she's running late. Whatever, it's not like I have to get up early. I feel myself dozing off, so I lie down and decide to take a nap. I wake up to the sound of crying and go check on the nephews. The 2-year-old is awake and being fussy. I glance at the clock at the bedside and am shocked when I realize it's 6 in the morning. I check my phone and my mum has called me and texted me asking if I ended up staying the night. There are no messages from my sister. I immediately call her while playing with younger nephew, while older nephew is now awake, attempting to climb up my leg. She doesn't answer. Instead, I get a text from her saying she's in Colorado, not our state. She won't be back for 3 days. And oh, you've got to take care of the kids. They've got nowhere else to go. It's just for 3 days. At this point, I know I've been set up, and I text her if she is not home in the next 5 hours, I will have to take the kids to their grandparents. Not my parents, who both happen to be busy, but estranged dad's parents. I tell her I'm sure they'd be more than happy to take both of them, since they never get to see them. She's instantly texting me paragraphs, telling me I'm not allowed to take her kids there. They judge her and they have no respect for her. Not true, she just hates them because of her baby daddy. She tells me if I take them there, she will sue me, put me in jail for stealing her children, blah blah. I tell her that she shouldn't have abandoned me with her kids. The following conversation occurs, to the best of my knowledge.
You agreed to take my kids. You're therefore responsible for them. You can't give them to someone else.
I agreed to 3 hours. I'm 18 years old and you left me with really young kids. I have work this evening. I can't watch them for 3 days. Come back now or I'll take them to their grandparents. They'd be happy to take them.
I can't believe you're making such a big deal out of this. I'm giving you my apartment for 3 days and you get to spend time with your nephews. You should be paying me for the apartment. You're so selfish.
Wow, okay. I already called grandparents. They're free to take them, so that's where they're going. I'm taking your children to their grandparents. Don't ask me again to watch your kids.
You frickin' frick. If I was your full sister, you'd do it, you jerk. All you care about is yourself.
You won't even spend time with your nephews. Freaking piece of crap. I hope you rot in heck. At this point, I ignore her, call the grandparents, who are more than happy to take them for a few days. They come and pick them up and I leave. When she gets back from the trip, she still stayed the whole 3 days. She shows up at my parents' house and starts cussing me out. My parents kick her out and I don't see her for the rest of the summer. If I was in that position, I wouldn't have waited 5 hours. I would already be on my way to the grandparents, sending a text message and saying, "Yo, I don't know where you are. You were supposed to be here last night. Your kids will be at their grandparents. Please don't ask me to ever babysit again." And of course, she's the selfish one for not wanting to babysit them for 3 days. Like, what? Entitled people will always project and try and accuse you of being selfish, even in the same breath as them being selfish. This story was called "Coworker Takes My Car for a Test Drive and Doesn't Return Car or Pay Money Until Cops Get Involved." Back in 2003, I was 21 and I bought my first and last, I've learned a lot since my youth, brand new car right off the lot. Meanwhile, I still had my first used car, a 1988 Chevy Blazer. I had a coworker who was about 15 years older than me who needed a car. We had gotten along really well until this point, and she just had a baby and was a single mum. I wanted to help her out, so I told her about my Blazer, and she said she wanted to come take it for a test drive. I told her my garage code because I knew I wasn't going to be home. She was supposed to come by and take it for a drive, but the next day I discovered it was gone altogether. When I asked her why she had the car, she said she had taken it to a mechanic and he found all of these repairs that needed to be done, and she had no idea it would need this much work, blah blah blah. On top of that, she had told him to go ahead and just start the work before she paid a dime to me. This negotiation tactic floored me, and I don't remember what price I had told her, but I think we negotiated somewhere around $400 from $600. At this point, I was definitely feeling taken advantage of, but I was young, so I was trying to get this over with. So, like 2 weeks go by, still no payment. She would tell me she was struggling with bills and would pay me soon enough. Finally, I told her she had to pay me by the 1st of the month. I had to have the money by then, no exceptions. The 1st rolls around and she calls me to say she wouldn't be paying me. Would I be open to payments if I held on to the title? At this point, I was done doing her favors and said no. I needed the car back if she couldn't pay for it. She responded, like any choosing beggar, with threats by telling me she was going to take me to court because she had already put a bunch of money into the car. As I recall, the call did not end well and she hung up on me. So I went to the police station. I told them what happened and an officer followed me in my car to her apartment to confront her and get the keys. She had the only copy. Like I said, I was young and learned a good lesson from this. Well, she wasn't home, but the Blazer was there, parked outside. The cop called a tow truck and I wrote a check for $80, and the car was towed where I promptly locked it in the garage until I could sell it to someone else. Luckily, I had a mechanic friend who took apart the steering column and used his connection to make me a key made at a nearby dealership. Pretty much all hell broke loose after this. She called me, left harassing messages on my phone. She accused me of stealing and being a bad friend. She even had her mother call me, whom I argued with on the phone. I kept saying that she could have the car if she paid for it. Her mother kept yelling, "But she doesn't have the money." Like I said, my coworker was like 35 years old, so to have her mother arguing to me was pretty surreal. Luckily, she got fired not long after this incident, and I sold the car. Now, present day, I would never have allowed anyone to test drive my vehicle without me being present, let alone take it into their possession. Lesson learned. Sounds like this guy went through a bit of a hassle, but hey, at least he got some free repairs on the car before he sold it. But the reality is, there's no price that's worth having to deal with a choosing beggar. If you'd like your story to be narrated by me, don't forget to visit the subreddit r/VoiceyHere, link below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.
This is absolutely bullcrap. You call this customer service? I don't give a crap what you have to do, but you will have my product here tomorrow. Or you can pick up your machine and I'll go back to Coke.